Scottie Scheffler is the best player on the planet right now, world number one. The man one major away from the career Grand Slam. The face the PGA Tour puts on every billboard, every broadcast, every sponsorship conversation. And right now he is furious, not quietly frustrated, not diplomatically unhappy. Furious in the way you only get when you've been patient for too long and finally stop pretending everything is fine. The club slams, the driving range meltdown at Oakmont, publicly calling major championship pin locations absurd, a word Scheffler does not use lightly. These weren't isolated moments. They were a man sending a signal that everyone inside Tour headquarters chose to ignore. Now that signal has become an ultimatum. The US Open is the deadline. What Scheffler is demanding before he commits to playing, and what it reveals about everything broken inside the modern PGA Tour, is the conversation professional golf has been desperately trying to avoid having. Personally, I think this was inevitable. The Tour pushed their best player into a corner for too long. Do you think Scheffler is right to draw the line here, or is he out of order? Drop your answer in the comments right now. If this is the golf conversation mainstream media refuses to have, subscribe, because what comes next in this story changes everything. He didn't arrive at this decision overnight. What built inside Scheffler over the last 12 months is the part nobody is talking about. And it starts with a schedule that should never have been approved. To understand the depth of his frustration, you need to see what the last year actually looked like from his position, not from the outside. From inside the ropes, where the pressure is real and the consequences are personal. When the 2026 PGA Tour schedule was released, Scheffler stared at something that made no logical sense for the best player in the world, trying to peak at the right moments. 6 consecutive tournament weeks. Starting with the Cadillac Championship, 6 straight weeks, stacked with 3 signature events and a major championship, all compressed into a stretch of calendar that would physically and mentally break any elite athlete who tried to play through all of it. This is not a minor scheduling inconvenience. Peaking for a major requires weeks of precise preparation, the mental sharpness, the physical management, the recovery between competitive rounds that separates a champion performance from an exhausted one. 6 consecutive weeks obliterates all of that completely. Scheffler was forced into decisions no world number one should ever face. Which events does he skip? Which fans does he disappoint? Which sponsors does he quietly let down? His schedule stopped being built around performance logic and started being built around a calendar designed for television revenue and corporate commitments. The damage went beyond inconvenience. Between the Masters and the PGA Championship, 3 signature events were staged. Events specifically created to put the best players on the same course at the same time. Scheffler and McIlroy did not appear together in a single one. Not one. The product the Tour sold to sponsors and broadcasters, the best against the best, was not being delivered. The 2 men whose names were supposed to be on every marquee were quietly managing burnout instead. Every week that passed under that schedule tightened something inside Scheffler, something that was already being pulled from another direction entirely. The schedule was destroying his body. What was happening on the actual golf courses was doing something worse. It was making him question whether the people running this sport respect the game at all. Arrive at a major championship as the world number one, and the expectation is simple: a fair test. Not an easy one, a fair one. A setup that rewards preparation, precision, and elite decision-making. That is what major championship golf is supposed to deliver. What Scheffler found instead left him visibly shaking with anger. At the PGA Championship, he walked off the course and used a word he almost never uses publicly. Absurd. Not difficult, not challenging. Absurd. He stated directly that the pin locations were the hardest he had encountered since turning professional. And this is a man who has competed at the highest level across every major venue in the world. Back on the driving range afterward, the body language told the full story. Hat tilted, gesturing down the range with visible agitation. This was not the reaction of a player frustrated by one bad round. This was a man who felt the sport he had dedicated his entire life to was being deliberately distorted, not to test greatness, but to manufacture chaos for a television audience. The Oakmont moment confirmed it. After a second round 71, Scheffler returned to the range, and what poured out of him was not frustration about his swing. It was the physical expression of months of accumulated pressure, a man absorbing blow after blow from a system that kept asking more while giving less. Two separate problems, two separate sources of genuine anger, both pointing at the same root cause, decisions being made at the top of the sport with zero meaningful input from the man delivering everything the sport depends on. Both of those things would have been enough to break most players permanently. What pushed Scheff specifically toward the US Open Ultimatum is the piece that makes this story bigger than one tournament and bigger than one player. Here is what the PGA Tour has never said publicly, but every person inside that organization understands completely. Scheffler is not just their best player. He is their entire commercial argument right now. His presence at a tournament changes the sponsorship conversation for that event overnight. His name on a leaderboard moves television numbers in a way no other active player currently can. His pursuit of the career Grand Slam, one win away from joining 6 men in the entire recorded history of professional golf, is the single most powerful sporting narrative the Tour holds right now. LIV Golf spent years trying to strip that star power away. Now LIV's own foundation is cracking from the inside. The Tour's new leadership has a genuine window to reset the entire narrative of professional golf. But none of that recovered ground means anything if the man at the center of every conversation worth having decides the environment no longer meets the standard he requires. Scheffler has watched decisions get made above him. Decisions about his schedule, about the courses he competes on, about the structure of the events his presence makes valuable, without a single genuine conversation about what he needs to perform at the level the Tour is commercially dependent on. Not a courtesy call, not a player advisory meeting that produces nothing. A real seat at the table where real decisions are shaped. That has never been offered. The patience that kept him quiet through all of it is gone. Everything you just heard was the pressure building across 12 months. Now comes exactly what you clicked for. And once you hear what Scheffler is specifically demanding, you will understand why the Tour has no comfortable way out of this. 3 things. That is what stands between Scheffler and his commitment to the US Open. The first is the schedule, not a cosmetic adjustment. A fundamental rethinking of how signature events are distributed so that elite players are not physically destroyed before the majors that define their legacies. The current structure produced a calendar where the world number 1 had to choose between his health and his professional obligations. That cannot happen again. The second is course setup accountability. Major championships must test greatness through precision and decision-making, not through conditions so extreme that perfect execution still gets punished. Scheffler wants genuine player consultation before pins are placed and setups are finalized, not after the damage is done, before. The third is the one that makes Tour executives most uncomfortable, a real seat at the table, not a committee that gets thanked and ignored. Structural influence over the decisions that shape the professional lives of the players delivering the product. Scheffler has carried this Tour's commercial weight through its most turbulent period. That contribution deserves more than a press release and a politely worded promise to consider feedback. 3 demands, all of them completely reasonable, all of them pointing at the same fundamental truth. The most important player in professional golf has been treated as a participant in a system built without him rather than a partner in one built around the reality he represents. The Tour now faces a choice with no easy exit. Meet these demands seriously, not with words but with structural action, and keep the world number 1 and his Grand Slam pursuit inside their tent, or dismiss them and discover what the US Open looks like without the player carrying its most compelling storyline. Scheffler has shown exactly who he is across the last 12 months. The frustration was real. The signals were clear. The ultimatum is not a negotiating tactic. He is not bluffing. I think the Tour is hoping silence makes this go away. It never does. Do you think they actually change, or does Scheffler make the hardest call of his career? Tell me exactly what you think in the comments below. This channel exists for fans who want the real conversation behind the scoreboards. If that, subscribe and stay close. This story has more moves left in it.